What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and we are at the end of 2024. And as I've done for almost every year since I had my channel, we're gonna get into my top 10 hip hop albums of the year. I can definitely say, as a fan of the type of rap that I like to listen to, we have been given a lot of gifts in the hip hop community. There are just so many albums that dropped this year that just check the right boxes for me. So I gotta start by saying that if your favorite album is not on this list or it's not in the placement where you feel it should be, don't take it as a slight. This is no disrespect to you or your taste. This is just personally what I love, and that's why they're in the order we are in. And I'm also gonna say that all of these albums I did a full review for, so if you are wondering what my in-depth thoughts are, you can check those reviews. I have a playlist right now that says 2024 Hip Hop Talk, and all of this will be in there because I'm not gonna go super deep within each entry, but I'm just gonna kind of do post-its, if you will. So to kick things off, at the number 10 spot is Snoop Dogg's Missionary. Now, I really enjoyed this album. While this project isn't too dense or complex when it comes to the lyrics, I must say that it just brings me back to the 2000s of hip hop, the early 2000s to be specific, and what I remember rap to be. I feel like this is the super produced album of the year, and you typically don't hear that. Any of the rappers from the early 2000s, they would always have a record full of super producers making these tracks, and that's exactly what this album brought me back to with Dre's production. It's all overproduced, big, grandiose in sound and quality. The mixing is top notch, but that was known to happen back then, and it brought me back to that. And then Snoop is rapping the sharpest I've ever heard him rap, for real. Like, I mean, we're talking about metaphors, punchlines, even doing multi-syllable rhyming, which is something that you don't typically hear from him all the time, but there's a lot of it here. My favorite track being Hard Night. I think that's one of the hardest rap records this year, and for that track alone, it goes on this list. And again, it's something that I enjoyed that I definitely will find myself playing again. So number 10 spot is Missionary. Now number 9 is Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady. All of the OGs came out to play this year, and M did his thing on this one. And honestly, I'm a huge Eminem fan, man. And I have not enjoyed an Eminem project in totality, or even the majority, since the Marshall Mathers LP. And really it just has to do with the beats that he chooses, and then his style of rapping being a little bit too mechanical and robot sounding, you know, being so concerned with fitting as many syllables and punchlines and all these things into his flows. It kind of takes away from everything, you know, sonically. But here, I feel like he found another sweet spot with the production being what I think Eminem sounds the best on, but also kind of letting loose of being the technical king and letting, you know, the flows run. There are a lot of tracks on here that I enjoy and will revisit. One of which off top for me is the joint he did with Jid. I believe it's called Fuel. Love that record. There's another joint called A Bad One that has a nice bounce to it, the opening record that sounds like vintage Slim Shady. And I also like the concept as well of him doing away with the Slim Shady moniker, which I don't think it's going anywhere. I think he might put it to the side a little bit just because he's grown, but Slim Shady and Eminem are always going to be one person, and it's forever going to live on. But I do like the concept, and like I said, it's an album I enjoy. So at number 9 is Eminem, Death of Slim Shady. Now this is going to be kind of a cheat. I'm going to group the next 3 spots together because personally I love them all, and depending on my mood, they may rotate some. So another reason that I'm grouping them all together is because I want to compare why they scratch certain itches for me and why they kind of switch. So at the moment right now, at number 8, I have Kendrick Lamar's GNX. At number 7, I have Soul Burger. And at number 6, I have Schoolboy Q's Blue Lips. Now each of these albums has a lot of replay value, and I'm definitely going to be going back to these albums moving forward just because I love so many joints on them. And the reason I have GNX at number 8 is because with this album, it's definitely one of Kendrick's more loose projects in regards to conceptual storytelling, though it, you know, there is a concept here about what GNX even means and stand for. Like, Kendrick never does anything without any type of concept, but it's just not as tailored as his prior projects. And I think we all can agree this kind of feels like a victory lap of his battle with Drake. And I'm all the way here for it. I love that he tapped into the West Coast sound. And for me personally, those are the joints that I'm gonna go back to more than the other ones, just because I wanted Kendrick to do that for so long. I ain't gonna lie, I think if the whole album sounded like that, this probably would be a little higher. But for me right now, those are the joints that I really just latch on to most. So again, when I'm in the mood though, to listen to this only, it could shoot past both of these. So Kendrick Lamar's GNX is a great album, and I just love to hear him embrace that West Coast sound. Then we're moving on to Ab-Soul, Soul Burger, and for me personally, Ab-Soul raps the way that I prefer, like bars, metaphors, punchlines, lyricism to the T when it comes to TDE. And the thing about this album is he changed his production from what he usually does, so a lot of the sounds on here are more digestible in a sense, and honestly a lot of the beats are things that I like to listen to. You know, for instance, Don Julio 17 is something that I typically don't hear him choose, but I just love that jazzy sample. And a lot of these jazzy samples, even the opening record 9 Mile and him rapping over the soul sample, and one of my favorite joints called Squeeze First 2. Like, there's just so many records on here that I love and just give me bar after bar after bar. And like I said, I love that type of shit. So that's why I got Ab-Soul, Soul Burger at number 7. Now moving up to Schoolboy Q's Blue Lips, I have that at number 6 because I feel like out of these 3 projects, Blue Lips, in my opinion, is the most cohesive album. Like when you listen to everything, it sounds like an album, opposed to the other 2. They kind of sound more like mixtapes or just like a collection of songs that have a small streamlined concept throughout. But Blue Lips is perfectly planned out, you know, all the beat switches that go into different samples that change, and clips from, you know, them having conversations, and just the meaning behind Blue Lips. There's a lot more thought, to me, put into this project to be a full album. Like, it's to a point that when I hear a song off of this album, I automatically want to listen to the rest of the album because of how in context each song is. There's a body of work. And then Schoolboy Q is my favorite from TDE. I don't know what it is about him, but his lingo, the way he talks, the things he talks about, it's very relatable to me in a lot of different ways. All of his projects I loved, and I feel like this one took him up a notch artistically because of the different places he took it musically. So right now, I still have Schoolboy Q Blue Lips above those 2, but it could change depending on the mood. So just to recap, at number 8 is Kendrick Lamar GNX, at number 7 is Ab-Soul Soul Burger, and at number 6 is Schoolboy Q Blue Lips. At number 5 is the OG LL Cool J, The Force. And I said it in my review of the Snoop Dogg joint that this is the other side of that album. Again, legendary MC getting with a legendary producer, also known as Q-Tip, who killed this album from a production standpoint. And that's what makes this album so powerful. You have a super producer like Q-Tip and a super rapper like LL who hasn't missed a step at all. Like, LL is rapping like Mama Gonna Knock You Out, but in today's time. And it's unbelievable to think that he can channel that energy and sharpen that energy all of these years later. Again, album full of lyricism in so many different ways, from bars, metaphors, punchlines, wordplay, multisyllabics. Like, LL put his foot down to let folks know that he is who he is. And I don't think there's a joint on this album that I don't like. Q-Tip's production is just phenomenal from start to finish. Like, I love Huey in a chair just feeling so blaxploitation like. The song The Force that just sounds like, you know, a Million Man March on the street. And then they end it with that cipher called The Oath. This album is just so great to me. So at the number 5 spot is LL Cool J, The Force. And at number 4 is Benny the Butcher, Everybody Can't Go. Absolutely love this album. We all know Benny can rap his ass off. This is no mistake. And this almost reminds me of his album from 2022, I believe, The Burden of Proof. It's in that same boat with me because I said back then, and I still think that when Benny raps on production that's not his typical production, it really pushes his pen quite a bit. Because we all know Benny and Griselda, they have a particular sound, and I think they really get comfortable in that pocket sometimes, and they don't rap as well as they could, for me personally. But here you have Hit Boy providing another dope soundtrack for him, the same as like Burden of Proof. The beats sound similar to that, but just in 2024. And then you have the other half of the album being produced by one of my favorite producers ever, and that's Alchemist. I probably would put him as one of my favorite, period. I don't know who shares that spot, but Alchemist has been a producer that I've loved since I heard his first instrumentals rapping with Prodigy and Havoc. Like the shit that he does is just so specific, and it works for Benny so well because Alchemist kind of has the same sound that Griselda raps on, but I just feel like Alchemist just does it differently. I can't even explain what he does. Like, you know, having these beats that it's just a sample loop, not even no kick or drum in it, but he just finds the grittiest samples to use, and Benny just, again, sliding over all of these beats. So it just felt like a versus match between Alchemist and Hit Boy, with Benny accompanying the sound, dropping bars from beginning to end, non-stop flows. And I love this album. So at number 4 is Benny the Butcher, Everybody Can't Go. So at the number 3 spot is Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium, Volume 1. This is just vintage hip hop at its best, bro. This is one of them joints that if I were to tell folks like what did hip hop used to sound like, this is the album that I would say. I'm like, look, listen to this album. It's hip hop from back then brought into today's time, and it doesn't skip a beat. Absolutely love this album. Another collaborative project between a legendary producer and a super rapper, and Common is the MC of MCs, just pure lyricism on every point. Metaphors, punchline, multisyllabics, wordplay, storytelling, smooth flows. Like he touches every single base of what lyricism is over these soulful boom bap beats brought to us by Pete Rock. It's magic, bro. Like, this sounds like music that would be on like an N1 mixtape, and I mean that in the best positive way possible. Like, it brought me back to that. I could see footage of Hot Sauce, Skip to My Lou playing over a lot of these records. One specifically called All Kind of Ideas. Like, you couldn't tell me you can't see some basketball footage at Rucker Park with that song playing and mixing these different things. Like, I just love this album, and this is going to be one that I return to. So at number 3 is Common and Pete Rock, The Auditorium, Volume 1. Now at the number 2 spot is Lupe Fiasco's Samurai, and I mean, I don't think I need to even explain the lyricist that Lupe is, just always bringing his A game, even when he doesn't try. That's the thing about Lupe. Lupe is so good at rap. Like, this whole album doesn't even sound like he is trying. And not to say like he's slacking off, but it's just so fluid and natural with the way he rhymes and his schemes and all these different things that it's like, yo, you're too good. You're too good, bro. And then we have this kind of lo-fi, jazzy sample beats all throughout. This is like my summer album, honestly. I played it so damn much. That first record is so soulful, and that beat just is, those horns are just so something that it hits me emotionally. Like, I listen to this song, it almost brings me to tears just because of how it feels. Like, I found myself closing my eyes, just vibing out to all the things that Lupe is saying. And again, everything that I mentioned when it comes to lyricism times 2 with Lupe. There are still gems and things that I'm catching as I re-listen to the album. Just an incredible project. And again, Lupe proving why he is who he is and why he's able to still perform at such a high level. Just an incredible album that was gonna get mad play for me. So at number 2 is Samurai. Now, this might be blasphemy for some people out there, but at number 1, I have J. Cole, Might Delete Later. Cole has gone God mode to me, period. You know, I was already inching that direction with him, you know, with all these different songs and things he put out. But this year, for me personally, he solidified his God tierness for me. And again, to me, he's rapped the best all year long, from this album alone and all of the features that he's done, like Play the Collard Greens. Holy shit, that's not part of his album, but even before we got there are so many verses on here that I'm just like, Cole has left Earth with this pen. The first record, Pricey, that first verse is incredible. I mean, opening up with never dressing gaudy, bitch, cause listen, round here, bullets feed the ones that's starving for attention. to change my whip up more than Rick and Morty switch dimensions. Like, to carry these multi-syllabic rhyme schemes that he does is something that I've never heard. Like, he carries such complex rhyme schemes for so long throughout the entire album. It's like unbelievable to me. I'm sitting here listening like, you're out here really proving why, to me, you're the best mainstream rapper. And I think that's why this album hit me so well, because it is mainstream rap. Like, from that standpoint of mainstream lyricism, like I said, it's the big three, like they say. Cole, in my honest opinion, is the last of the Mohicans, as he said, with keeping real lyricism alive on the mainstream level. He has made a name for himself from lyricism. Cole don't even have like pop hits. He don't have club bangers. He don't have joints for the ladies. Like, he dropped all of that stuff years ago, and he has been here because of pure lyricism. I said it multiple times here, but again, metaphors, punchlines, storytelling, being able to just be real, multi-syllabics, like everything that you get from somebody who is lesser known or not in the mainstream, you get from him in mainstream, writing at a top-notch level. Favorite verses, Pricey from verse 1, that whole verse from Crocodile Tears, both verses from Ready 24, and especially that joint that he did on Pie. That verse is undeniable. I mean, and for him to do that with two other MCs who are, God tier as well, Ab-Soul and Daylight, and he just outshined them both to the point where Ab-Soul even admitted it in an interview. He said he was tight that Daylight sent him that record, because he was like, you can't just give one of the best rappers in the world a record without us knowing. Like, he eating us up on there. Like, and for Ab-Soul to admit that, Cole is a beast. And this album is gonna get mad play from me forever, because I think that this is an incredible project. It has top-notch instrumentals on it, and then it's just a mixtape at that. And I really just love that aspect of it. That Cole is such a student of the game, and he's so in love with the sport that he just made a mixtape just for the sake of making a mixtape. He didn't have to put this out. He's been saying that he's been working on the Fall Off, but nah, he wanted to give us some bars over the spring, and he didn't let me down. Like I said, this is my favorite album of the year, just because it's exactly what I like to hear in the way that I like to hear it. So, and number one is Might Delete Later from J. Cole. So let me know in the comments, what are your top 10 albums? And again, I'm not dumping on you or your opinion if your album is not on the list or in the order that you see it. This is just how I feel. And I can't wait for 2025 to see what's in store for hip hop again. And I have to give another shout out too. This is an honorable mention to an unofficial album from the Great Hip Hop War of 2024, Drake vs. Kendrick. They gave us an album worth of material that I can still listen to and still do listen to. Like, it's literally a playlist that I've saved of all of the diss records back and forth, and I listen to it like an album. So many great joints and great back and forth for rap, even though it's gone weird ways with Drake suing and all that stuff. That's neither here nor there, but I gotta shout that out because it made for an electrifying summer. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.